All right, everybody, welcome back to Empty the Bench Facebook page. This is our second version of Bench Talk. And this guy I've known for a while. Actually, we kind of met each other at WABC where I work now. And he's a professional sports bettor. He has a lot of interesting stories to tell. And with the way the professional sports landscape is, I'm curious to see what professional sports betting, how it's being affected. So, Danny B, thanks for joining me.
Oh, no problem. Sorry I couldn't get on the last time. I had some problems, Nick, as you know, but here we are today, a Wednesday, and as we're speaking right now, I believe Tony Clark is sitting with the commissioner. Hopefully by the end of this show, we'll have some resolve on will there or will there not be baseball, but I'm getting frustrated as a fan, and it affects my industry, as you know, or if you don't know, it's kind of crippled us. I'm not betting on Korean baseball. I'm not betting on soccer. It's not my area of expertise. So I'm just waiting for NBA. I'm waiting for even WNBA, something. But I'm mad at baseball. As a fan, and that's my sport of choice, baseball, I'm very upset like the average fan, Nick.
So just so people have an idea of who you are, can you give a quick backstory and then we'll get into the real?
Yeah, sure. For those that don't know who I am, I've been doing this professionally since '83, gambling professionally since '83. I'll be 58 in October. But in 1994, I did my first radio show. I switched hats, Nick. I went from being a bookmaker to a sports advisor. So it was, 26 years ago, basically. August to make 26 years when I did my first show. And for years, I don't know if you remember before you had technology to get scores and odds, they called the phone, the score phone, to get odds and stuff. And I updated that for many, many years. And I made a little name for myself. I got hired by HBO in 1997. I did a couple of shows for them that won Emmys, by the way. They hired me as a consultant, and, radio continued. And here it is, 26, 27 years later. And I'm just trying to figure out how to stay relevant with podcasting, radio falling apart. It's not what it was. Everybody's an expert now, social media, blase this, blase that. So yeah, I've been around a long time. I actually made my first bet back in the mid-'70s, just having some fun, a Monday night game. I think it was the Dolphins against Pittsburgh, a Monday night game. I won $50, and I was automatically drawn into the industry. But then I started betting more than I could afford, got into a little trouble back in the day when bookmakers were real and you owed them money, they wanted it. So I owed a decent amount of money, so I left for the Army at the age of 17 then. I joined on my 17th birthday. I went into the Army. I got out 3 years later. I played a year of baseball. Didn't work out. I had some fun, was a good experience, and I didn't know what to do with my life, so I reached out to the old loan sharks and bookmakers that I grew up around and started working for them. And again, that's basically where it started for me. But in my town, you were a cop, a fireman, or a gambler, one of the above. And I don't have a badge and I don't put out fires. So I chose the latter.
So speaking of podcasts, you were talking about your podcast, Inside the Numbers, which is I've had a chance to listen to. You actually did a great interview with one of the Giants coaches, actually, which was great. I had a chance to listen. If you want to go listen to that, please go listen.
Oh, he's a great guy. Sean Spencer, yeah, Coach Chaos, just came over from Penn State. Should pump up that defensive line. Now, he didn't say much about what they're doing. Very secretive, obviously. But, yeah, he's a good guy. And he sent me some nice shirts. And we do the podcast, too. You know, you saw the podcast. My radio show is Inside the Numbers, which is the longest-running sports betting talk show. But I do podcasts. I do a lot of different things. But I've had some great guests over the years. Randy Cross, Glendon Rush, Sid Rosenberg, of course, But, yeah, I've been doing this a long time. And, sports betting, when it became legal in Jersey and Pennsylvania, I thought it would, bring some life back into the industry because everybody was sending money overseas to bet, and it was getting tougher to get paid. So the industry started getting a black eye, and I was losing interest in it. And then when they legalized it in now I think 18 states, it kind of pumped me up. And so, but here we are right now at a standstill. And I'm hoping that we can get started sooner than later. And I think the girls' basketball league's scheduled to start on the 24th of July, Nick, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the month. But you actually segued perfectly into our first question here. How is sports betting being affected by the pandemic?
Oof. Well, you know what? The ones that want to gamble, they're going to gamble on anything. You know, you can bet on futures, who's going to win this, who's going to have the most yards rushing, this and that. But a lot of guys are just slinging anything because they're sick. They're degenerates. They just need the action, you know? Me, I'm disciplined. I ain't going to bet on something I'm not confident, nor am I going to try to sell anybody something that I have no business selling. You know, I don't know nothing about the Korean League. I haven't watched one inning, one pitch. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't do MMA. I do know some guys that are very good at that. But I'm more of a baseball, basketball, and a football guy, Nick. And I kind of stick to what I'm good at, you know. And baseball is my sport of choice. That's where I do my best work, if you will.
So with the conditions not being ideal, how much do you think the betting lines are actually affected? Because we're seeing the bubble, the Orlando bubble, if you will, in the NBA or MLB. We don't know if we're going to get stadiums. So how much do you think the betting lines are actually affected due to the condition?
Well, we'll find out. You know, we'll find out. No fans, no home field advantage, a lot of variables. So it remains to be seen. But I can tell you this, the casinos will have the advantage, not the sports bettor. The insiders know more than the average guy. You can read all you want on the internet. You can be good with algorithms and this and that, but it's only going to get you so far. So in the beginning, especially the house always has the advantage. But I think now more than ever, they're really going to have the upper hand. But the lines will be off. You know, it takes a lot of work and research, Nick. This is not easy stuff, you know. And the average gambler out there, they're looking for perfection. They're looking to hit 65. It's not out there. If you can maintain a 57, 58% win ratio and you're consistent with that, make yourself a nice amount of money. So I think the gamblers are in for a long season. There are guys that know a little bit more than the next guy. And one thing about me, I might not be the most statistically correct guy. I don't know what college this guy or what his mother named him as a kid or whatever. But I know the people that do know, you know, and that comes with all the years of being in the industry. So for me, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've been saying that for years, and I know the right people. The guys that are crunching numbers, the young kids. I don't have patience for that. Algorithms. I can't even spell it, Nick.
So let's go to another topic you and I have discussed a ton, which is Major League Baseball. So I've seen you on Twitter and follow Danny B on Twitter at Danny B Sports, and you can see his massive opinions on Major League Baseball. You and I agree on this topic, where the negotiations have been a massive failure. What are your thoughts on the back and forth between the owners and the players? And if there's no season, how does this really affect the revenue in the sports betting industry?
You know what? I'm upset at the players more than the owners. But then again, you got to look at it at both sides. I say the players save the league, help save the league. Baseball's in trouble, I feel, if they don't come to terms. A 50-game season, though, what does that accomplish? I mean, it takes 20 games just to see them heat up, right? 20, 25 games just to heat up. You know, the Yankees one year started off, 13-13, and then they went on to win 103 games or something like that. So the better teams, I wouldn't bet the favorites in the beginning. I would lean on the underdogs. But I think that if they don't put it together, baseball's in trouble. It's been in trouble in the past, the 94 strike. Cal Ripken, when he broke Gehrig's Ironman record, that helped salvage it. Everybody was rooting. Actually, I got a sick helmet. Cal Ripken wore this in batting practice the day he broke the record. He signed like about 40 of these things. Can
That's
you say
awesome.
it? Yeah, he wore this in batting practice the season that he broke the Ironman record. So this is one of my, it's not the most expensive piece, but it's something that means a lot to me. Then, of course, in 98, you had the home run chase, McGuire, Sosa. Who was the other one? Palmeiro. Rafael Palmeiro had a good year that year, too. That was interesting. Fans that didn't even, or people that weren't even baseball fans were watching, you know. So that salvaged baseball. But I think we're in trouble, Nick. And as far as the owners got money, The owner's got a shitload of money. Excuse my French. They're billionaires in most cases. So if they show a loss, they can write it off, right?
You would think they
Like, write it off. And for some of the owners, they do lose money. And it is a business expense. They write it off. Hey, I lost $500 million here, but I made $1 billion over here, right? Words to that effect. But I think it's sickening. You know, yeah, it's true. A lot of the players ain't millionaires, but there are a lot that are, you know. And first of all, nobody should make $35 million a year. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. There's 3 players right now making 35 plus, right? Cole, Maxey,
and Trout.
and I think, yeah, there's somebody at Trout too, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a few in the low 30s. Ooh. What's his face? Greinke, who I don't. For me to pay somebody that type of money, it's outrageous. My advice is start fresh, bring up the kids, offer them a minimum, or you make no more than $10 million with it. What's wrong with that? Well, you're making $10 million, $2 million base. For every home run, we're going to do this. We're going to stop the bleeding. You know what? And if you stop the bleeding, the fans be able to afford it, where you can go take your kids to a ball game, you know, without spending $500, which is, I used to go to the game with $15 in my pocket in the 70s, Nick. $15. And that was for the subway and the bus too. $1.50 to get in, $3 to tip the usher because I get the grandstand tickets. Third inning at the Met games, especially in the 70s, they were awful. So I had a guy, $3. I'd sit right behind the dugout, talk to the players, but now you can't even get to a park. It costs $50 to park these days at a game, you know? So I would stop the bleeding and start fresh with the younger kids, the ones that are hungry, you know? And it never fails. Anybody that makes the big money, they usually fall apart. How many players over your short life, I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 58, how many do well after they get that fat contract?
Not
a lot
many.
of them get complacent.
Yeah, not many. I mean, you saw the A-Rod contract. You saw the Teixeira contract. I mean, that's here in New York, but I could go to any contract you want to talk about in the high 100 millions. Ooh, we're seeing NFL.
How about Harper?
That contract was absurd in so many ways. Well, it's typical Scott Boras syndrome, I like to call it, BS, because I think he's a ton of BS. But basically, these contracts are so absurd, and now you're seeing, like you said, gambling money is major with all this money. And I'll ask you another thing in baseball, the TBS contract that was just signed, I think it was for $3 billion. We can't get on the field and play a damn game, for crying out loud. How are you? And the owners are complaining foul that the players are not giving back enough money.
You know what? You might start seeing players wearing sports books on their jerseys, you know, patches. Maybe you'll see some revenue coming in from the casinos. You know, they've talked about that in the past already. I don't have this solution for it, Nick. I wish I did. You know, I would just say shake hands, come to terms. You got to play more than 50 games, though. And if it's up to Dr. Fauci, he doesn't want nobody to play in October. Now, I'm not no medical guy or anything, but if there could be 100,000 people rioting, we can put a few people in the stadium. We can put 30,000, 20,000, separate them. Bring in some fans, and there's some extra revenue, you know? So I don't have the answers. I wish I had a magic wand, and you know, but I don't. I'm just as baffled as the next guy. I'm upset. There was casinos that opened up in places like Detroit, Michigan, the day that the NBA said, oh, because he touches everything. Now, what happens if Rudy, right? Was Rudy the guy that, I'm not a big NBA guy. If he doesn't touch all the microphones and do that sarcastically, just maybe the NBA doesn't take its stance the way they did. You know, he gets diagnosed a couple of days later, and boom, the rest is history. March Madness canceled, baseball postponed, everything put off, you know. It's good to see, at least for the NASCAR fans and soccer fans, you know, if you enjoy it, there's something to watch, but that never fancied me. So, I got my suspicions. I got my own opinions, and that's all they are. We all have opinions, but you know what they say about opinions, or or assuming anything, right?
My favorite
Uh,
saying, actually.
yeah, but I'm as upset as the next guy, and I'm at the point where, you know what? I lost a lot of money over the last 5 months. Not being able to go to work. I don't collect unemployment. I have a family. I have a lifestyle. So I've been affected by it, but it is what it is. You just got to hope and pray, and, hopefully they'll find some resolve. And if not, I'm waiting for football, I guess.
Talking to Danny B. You could see him on his website, DannyBiancullo.com. You could check out I think you have some packages on there where you help people with sports.
Yeah, but when the time is right, Nick, right now there's nothing I can even offer. I got people contacting me. Do you have anything on this? Do you have any information on this? I'm like, nah. I send them to my friends, actually, that are good with MMA. If they're looking for that, I got a guy that does this. And again, I don't know nothing about Korean baseball. I have no interest in it. MMA is not my thing. And, so tennis, I don't know, table tennis. But yeah, I do have packages available when the time's right. And I have different specials and stuff like that. But I'm all about helping the better too. The big thing, helping people control their emotions, Nick. With gambling, it's an emotional thing. You let a loss affect you personally because you should have won that game. You were winning that whole game, and in the last quarter or the last 2 minutes, you blew it. You take it personal, and you start chasing. So what I try to do, I think what I'm really good at is calming somebody down, talking them off the bridge, trying to teach them right from wrong. And it's hard, though, because we're emotional people. Me too. And it's not easy stuff. And you shouldn't be betting with scared money anyway, which a lot of people do. So, I'm just very upset with everything, Nick. And I'm hoping that we see something soon. You have Irvin from the Nets saying he wants to start his own league. Good luck. Good luck with that.
And actually, as we speak, I'm seeing on social media right now that it looks like a new deal for the MLB and the MLBPA. It looks like it's on the table. It's amazing how you and I caught that as it was happening. But
well, you know what? Hopefully they'll come to terms. And I saw it right before I jumped on with you here. And we'll see what happens. I've been optimistic. I thought for sure we'd have a season. I went out back in, I think, early May. I said, 4th of July weekend would be a great time to bring back baseball, to celebrate our new independence, right? Independence weekend. To some, that doesn't matter no more, To me, I'm always going to stand for the flag, and I don't want to get into politics or anything like that. But shame on anybody that. Now, I believe in social justice. I think change has to be made across the board. But to kneel during the national anthem, I'm never going to be cool with that. I'm sorry. That's just my position. I'm okay if they want to kneel together in harmony, but not during the national anthem. There's a time and place for things like that. And as a Cowboy fan, that's the only thing I respect about Jerry Jones is he said, you ain't doing that on my team, pal. You ain't playing if you're kneeling. And, you've seen a lot of players have to retract their thoughts like Watts and Drew Brees. And I know I'm going from one sport to another, but I guess we're all confused. We're all frustrated. We don't know what to believe. Depends on what channel you like to watch. That's why I like listening to Sid Rosenberg. I mean, Sid likes to, say what's on his mind, and I respect a lot of his opinions and stuff like that. But some of these channels you watch are so, ridiculous. But again, I'm just fed up with everything. I'm hoping Tony Clark puts that deal together with the players and says, let's do it. Let's save baseball, because I think as fans, we're disgusted, especially with baseball. And baseball is going to look really bad if they're the only sport that doesn't come back, Nick, And baseball started in my hometown of Hoboken, New Jersey. I think 1847. So you're going to tell me all these almost 200 years later, right? Almost 200 years later. And we got to get our game back, And I think baseball heals us. If you watch the movie Field of Dreams, which I'm sure you did, James Earl Jones gives that pitch, that they will come, Ray. They will come for reasons, for money they have. And it just chill, and it tells the story of baseball. So I think baseball will bring us together as a whole. It'll heal slowly. It's going to take time. But yeah, I think we need baseball. I think if baseball makes a deal and they give us an official date, that people will start having some hope again, Nick.
So, final two questions. So, which sport is going to recover first from this whole pandemic? And of not the core four sports, which one do you think will actually do good due to this pandemic?
I don't know. Well, the NFL wasn't affected by it at all, right? The NHL's been affected. You're saying the top four, you're talking about the major four teams?
Right. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? Soccer's a huge sport. You know, it's the most bet on sport globally. You know, in the United States, we're not big on it. But overseas, it's huge. Rugby's a big sport too, Nick, if you're not familiar with that. Overseas, rugby's huge. It's the NBA's big overseas too. You know, baseball and NFL is not accepted like it is here overseas. So I think the NBA can come back, you know, fast. If they put it together, you know, some players, they're leaving it up to LeBron. Ooh, what LeBron says, I'll do. I'll bow down to King James. And I'll go on a record, he ain't Michael Jordan, and nobody's Michael Jordan. And I would take Kobe Bryant before LeBron James. And he is a heck of an athlete. You can't take that away from him. But he needs to play because his legacy, he needs another ring or two, doesn't he?
I agree for sure. And I guess we'll see what goes on with the world of sports. And I saw, and quickly I'll say it, the Yankee letter that was supposed to be unsealed and what they were doing with that. And apparently DraftKings bettors were in that lawsuit to try to get that figured out because they thought the Yankees were cheating and the Astros were cheating, but it's all craziness, right?
You know what? We've been stealing signs for years. Even as kids, they taught us how to look for the sign and, you know, the catcher looking at the hit or vice versa. So it ain't nothing new, rather. But when you bring in technology in to help you cheat, I guess that's where they draw the line. It's okay to cheat as long as you don't use a camera, right? Or Tuve. What was he saying? I didn't want my wife to see my new cross or something. What was his excuse for doing that?
I don't know. I guess he didn't want to see his chest or whatever for whatever reason. But I don't know.
You know what was a good investment, though? To invest in these sports books like DraftKings. And their stocks are up pretty good right now, you know? I never dabbled in the market. That was never for me because I don't like doing things that are out of my control. Even sports, you know, it's out of your control, but at least, you know, you know the results. They're in black and white. The stock market, to me, it's always crazy. You don't know what's going on. You wake up, you scratch your head. The president does a tweet, you lose money. At least with sports betting, it's black and white. It takes 2.5 to 3 hours. You know where you stand. Whether you like the results or not, you know how you won, you know how you lost. So I've always stuck to what I'm good at, and that's sports and sports betting. And I've had my moments where I couldn't pick my wife out of a photo lineup, you know? So, but it's all about consistency. And the big thing when it comes down to betting is being patient, not letting your emotions take over. And you got to bet against your favorite team once in a while. You can't always bet the Mets or the Yankees, you know? And sometimes when you're betting the better teams, it's not the best bet. Yankees win 100 games, right? They lose 62 on a regular season, right, Nick?
Right.
But when your favorite's 3-1, 350, and you lose 62 times at that number, did you make money with a winning record? Sometimes not, you know. Not that they're always 3-1, but you know, a lot of times Hershiser, he was the Bulldog. What's his name out there? Kershaw, right?
Oh, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, he's gone off at 5-1, Nick. 5-1. I mean, and he lost a few of those starts too. So, you know, the key with betting, it'll help save the leagues. Betting will help save the leagues. If the leagues are going to survive, it'll be through sports betting. You know, I think the fans are sick. I think they're disgusted. And me personally, I used to go to a lot of baseball games. I'd rather sit at home right now and not fight the crowds and watch it on the big screen TV, you know? So I think all the sports, you know, will be okay eventually. But baseball, of all the sports, they need to get it together, you know? And they need to do it soon.
Well, we'll see what happens in the world of sports gambling. Danny Biancullo com. Check out his Inside the Numbers podcast and radio show. It's great. I've listened to a ton of them. So, Danny B, thanks for joining us.